Alright fellas, we're back out here in the shop. I got the motor set in there along with the transmission. That's all put in, sitting on the motor mounts now. What I'm gonna do next is install the Stifler's TH400 swap mount. It's a direct bolt-in deal for the 99 to 04 Mustangs, and it'll work with a lot of different transmissions. You can see right there. Right there's a list of all the transmissions that it'll work for in that 99 to 04 Mustang. Whole different bunch of them. So yeah, if you guys need one of them, they're not too bad. Can't remember exactly. They're a little over $100 or something like that. So, but I'm gonna get that in there, because once I get that in there, I can go and measure the drive shafts to see what length I need, so I can start getting one built for it. And then we'll be one step closer to being finished and ready to fire it up. But so I'm gonna go ahead and get this installed, and then I'll show you what it looks like once I do. All right, if any of you guys are doing the TH400 swap, the rear trans mount where it bolts to the transmission, the two bolts there, the thread is 7/16 by 14. Get you some good decent bolts, grade 8. And this is a 3/8 MPT plug for my transmission pan. It came with a plug, but I somehow misplaced it, lost it at one time or another. So I got a new one to put in there. So I'm gonna go ahead, go under there, throw these in, and then I'll show you what it looks like all bolted in, guys. Also, just make sure you put either pipe dope or Teflon tape on any kind of pipe thread, just so you don't have any leaks. Okay, bear with me here, fellas. I'm on a creeper rolling around on the ground trying to show you this. I don't got the bolts fastened up there, but you can see this is a Stifler's universal swap mount. I showed the page of all the transmissions that it'll work with. It'll work with a whole bunch of different transmissions, but this will work in the 99 to 04 New Edge body style Mustangs. Comes with pretty much everything you need, and it worked great on this TH400. So there's that. There's my Sonic's billet yoke back there, if I can get some light on it. To measure the drive shaft where I'm getting mine made at, I had to seat that yoke until it bottomed out in the transmission, so push it all the way into the transmission, pull it out 1 inch, and then measure from the center of the U-joint. Let's see if I can show you this. So measure from the center of this U-joint back to, on this particular one, I also swapped this from the flange type that the 8.8 usually is to a 1350 strange yoke. But on this particular one, so the center of that U-joint from the yoke to the center of this U-joint, which on this particular one, the center of the U-joint is going to be this parting line where you put the U-bolt cap on to retain the U-joint. So just measure to the flat of this flange. That'll be the center of this U-joint. So center this U-joint to the center of the other U-joint, and you got your measurement. So give you a little sneak peek. I got the cable ran for the most part. I don't know 100% if that's how I'm gonna route it, but we'll see how it lays out. But then I got it in the bracket, and then into the bracket for the trans. So once we get closer to, I guess, doing it, I'll show you. You got to make sure you adjust these shifter cable correctly. If you have them out of adjustment, you can get into a scenario where you'll have the transmission in between a gear. You'll have it in between park and reverse, or reverse and neutral and drive, and you'll burn the transmission up if you don't have it adjusted right. So once we get around to that, we'll walk through that, go over it, and kind of explain how you want to make sure you have it. That way you can avoid causing any issues there. So as you guys know, on these mod motors, the alternator sits up high, up top here. These are the two studs that it slides down on, and then with a factory intake, there's a bracket that goes from the alternator to the intake to bolt it down. And it works fine there. There's no problem with that. The only issue comes into play is when you're going to run a front exiting or front entry intake manifold, like the like that guy right there. You run into clearance issues. Now I could put a 1-inch spacer, which I got, and probably clear it, but then I'm losing more hood clearance by doing that. So they sell in the aftermarket, they sell relocation brackets for the alternator. One kit relocates it where it's at right now, where the AC compressor used to be. And then there is also another kit that relocates it over here, kind of up high, so I don't think it would work with my turbo kit. But they do offer it where it relocates on the passenger side, kind of above the power steering. The only place that sells one for this side is MMR, and I didn't want to really deal with them, and they want fucking damn near $80 for a little chunk of aluminum with a couple holes drilled in it, that's contoured nicely, and it looks nice. I'll give them that. But so I just ended up making my own out of some angle and some flat bar. See if I can get you a shot of it. You can kind of see it. See it right back. This is the flat bar. So I got a piece of angle iron, okay, and where the AC compressor used to bolt to the front of the engine block there, I drilled 2 holes, one up there, one down there, and I ran 2 bolts in. And then I welded a piece of flat bar off of the angle to, do my mounting. So the top of this alternator used to be the bottom. Them 2 bolts right there are basically them 2 bolts right there. So the alternator right now is flipped upside down, and then I got these 2 bolt there and a bolt there retaining it. It's kind of a squeeze deal. It's solid. I don't think I'll have any issues with it as long as my belt routing's good enough. Which by looking at it, by measuring it with a straight edge, it looks fine. I turn the engine over by hand, and the belt rides on the pulleys good, so it should be okay. But you'll never know until you spin this thing up 8,000 RPM. A lot of shit can happen at 8,000 RPM, so it might fling the belt off the first time you run it. The first time I started up, it could throw it off for all I know. But as of right now, it looks to be solid enough to work. So I got $5 worth of steel and a couple bucks worth of bolts, and my clearance issues taken care of. I did have to do a change up on the front cover on the pulleys on the front to accomplish this. The main thing was these 2 pulleys, that one right there and that one right there. Depending on what front cover you have, you might not have a cast-in boss like this right here. These bosses are what these pulleys sit on. They slide over this first nub, and then they thread in a bolt into the center there. Not all front covers have these 2 on this side. Depending on the year and what vehicle it came off of, it may not have these. If yours does have these, then you can do this and it's no big issue. This is usually a smooth pulley. This is now a grooved pulley. Same with that one. That one's a grooved pulley too. So you'll need a front cover that has a boss over there, and you want to get your 2 grooved pulleys. There's 6 rib on this particular setup. It's a 6 rib belt, and all this stuff is 6 rib stuff. The tensioner is smooth, obviously. And this is the routing. So it has to be routed this way because you got to turn. The crank obviously turns clockwise. Water pump has to turn counterclockwise. And then the alternator is going to spin clockwise like it did up here. So that's my belt setup. The belt that I ended up getting, which yours will likely be different because depending on how you build your bracket down there and where you drill holes at, it ain't going to be identical to mine. But to get you in the ballpark, if you go this way, I ended up needing a 72-inch belt. So, you know, just go on, you can just Google serpentine belt catalog, and it'll take you to like either Gates or Goodyear belts, and you can punch in the size that you're looking for, the number of ribs and that shit, and then you can, you know, locate your part number, go up to the part store, buy a couple, 3 belts that are real close to the same size of each other in that general area that you think you need, and then you can, you know, just test fit them until you find the one that you need. I had to buy, I think it was the 4th belt that I bought, I got the right size, you know, the size that I needed, so it wasn't too bad. I got a local part store right in town, so it only took me, you know, 2-3 minutes each way. I had to run up there twice, so it wasn't too bad. But one of the easiest ways to measure is just take a string and then route it the way that your belt's going to be routed. And then when you get to the end and you overlap it, mark it, and then you just lay the string out flat and measure it with a tape measure, and that'll get you right in the general ballpark. I did that and I got like 71 1/4. And I ended up needing a 72, so you know I was pretty close. So that's a good way to do it. I got the super dampener put on there for the ATI. Torqued down and everything's good to go there. And yeah, I got the motor set in there. So I think I'm gonna start buttoning it up the top end here. I usually like to start in the bottom, but I'm more than likely gonna do that towards the end. I still got to bolt the converter to the flex plate. When I bolted the transmission to the engine, I made sure I had enough gap in between the torque converter and the flex plate. You want what is it? 1/4 inch? No, not 1/4 inch. Am I thinking? 1/8 inch to 3/16 of an inch gap between the torque converter and the flex plate, with the torque converter pushed all the way into the transmission. You need that gap there because when that thing starts swelling, if you don't have any gap, it's going to try to push the crankshaft, you know, out the front of the motor. You know, tear up your bearings in the motor, your thrust bearings. So you got to make sure you have that proper gap. So I had a tiny bit more gap than I needed, so that means I need to shim it. So you can just use washers in between the torque converter pad and the flex plate to get you the proper gap. All I did was just use, a set of feeler gauges. Put you some feeler gauges together to equal, let's see where I got it wrote down here. Yeah, right here. An 1/8 inch is 125 thousandths, and 3/16 of an inch is 187.5 thou. And I measured 238 thou with no spacers and nothing in there. So I grabbed some grade 8 washers that I had and I measured them, and they were 71 thousandths thick. So if I put a 71 thou thick washer in between, 238 minus 71 gave me 167. 167 thou is right in the middle of that measurement that I need, so I'll be perfect there. What I came up with for my drive shaft length, don't take this as gospel and just go ahead and order you, if you're doing this swap, don't just order this size drive shaft, because it could be a little bit of variance in between each vehicle. Your motor or your K member may set your motor back or forward another 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch than mine, and so on and so forth. So make sure you measure yours, but 48 and 11/16 was my measurement, with the transmission yoke pulled 1 inch out of the transmission. That's with 1350 joints and a 1350 flange or yoke on the differential as well. That's an 8/8. Also wanted to show you guys this. If you remember from the earlier videos, I built the frame and brackets to mount that passenger side seat myself to save some money. It wasn't too bad to do, but it was a pain in the ass. I don't have a lot of metalworking tools here. I don't have a drill press. And when you're trying to drill through like 1/4 inch thick steel with dull ass drill bits, it's a pain in the ass. When you're trying to bend 1/4 inch steel, with no metalworking tools, it's a pain in the ass. And I was just over it at this point. I got so much other shit to do, I didn't want to have to dick with building another seat bracket. So I went to Racecraft Engineering, racecraft.com. They build a ton of race car parts, and a lot of them for Mustangs. So if you're looking for suspension parts, anything, motor plates, anything to do with Mustangs, front end suspension parts, K members, A arms, anything and everything, they got a bunch of stuff. Parachute mounts for Mustangs and all kinds of shit. Well, they make these, seat mounts and brackets for aluminum Kirky style seats. This is the Jag seats, but they're basically the same thing. And they fit fucking spectacular. You can kind of see there's the bracket on that side, and you can't really see it. No way. You can see the other side there. Use your factory bolts to mount the brackets to the floor, and then it includes the hardware to mount this shit to the seat. It's adjustable, so you can control the tilt of the seat, get it however you want it, drill the holes, install your fasteners. So yeah, super sturdy, gets the seat mounted great, and then all that's left to do for me is to do like on that side, to install the seat back support on this side, and that'll allow you to get rid of the front and back movement or deflection that's in the seat, in an aluminum seat. It'll keep it nice and sturdy. And then all I gotta do is mount the 5-point harness to the body, and then the seat will be ready to go. And at that point, I called around to try to get a rear seat delete kit. Okay. So like I was saying, I was looking for a rear seat delete that's made out of metal, aluminum, because a lot of tracks, if they're sticklers about their track or about the rules, you need if you got a fuel cell in the trunk, you need to have a metal firewall in between the driver's compartment and where the fuel cell is, the trunk. So I can get plastic ones and basically wood with carpeting laid over it, no problem. But the metal one, the only one that I know of, is Scott Rod Fab, and I called them, and they're like, I thought they made their shit. I thought they made the stuff there. They're right in Ohio and Toledo, which ain't too far from me. I could drive there and pick it up. But I called them, and they're like, well, we'd have to order it, and it'd be, what the hell did they tell me, 8 weeks? This was at the start of the COVID-19 stuff, so maybe it won't. Maybe they got them in stock now. I could call them again. Like I said, it's been probably a month and a half ago that I called them, so it was the middle of the whole ordeal. So maybe they got them in stock now, or there's a shorter lead time. So I'll probably call them and check again. But if you guys know of another place that makes and offers aluminum rear seat deletes for $99.04 Mustang, put it down in the comments, because I need to get one, because I like to have a firewall in between myself and the gas tank if shit were ever to hit the fan. More safety, the better. Also, the local track that I'm doing my test and tuning at, they just posted on Facebook that they're back open for normal stuff. Still no fans, no spectators or nothing like that. But they're running their normal Wednesday night test and tune session. So once we get the car ready, we'll be able to get out there right away and be able to start get this thing tuned up. Also, still waiting on a few things. I ordered the manual brake conversion, and, to delete the power steering, the hydro boost, and convert to manual brakes. Ordered their kit because it's a super nice kit and it's a pretty good price. But then I order it and they email me and tell me, oh, we're out of stock or whatever. They're waiting on parts, and it'll be middle of next month before they have the stuff in. Tentatively, wasn't even for sure. With all the stuff going on, shipping it sucks right now. I don't know if you guys have ordered anything in the mail, but everything is delayed, taking 2-3 times as long as it should to get to where it's going and stuff. So I ended up canceling with them, and I called up Aerospace Brakes, Aerospace Engineering, whatever you want to call them. I got their delete kit. I ordered a master cylinder. I got their delete bracket and their adjustable master cylinder push rod. I didn't buy their master cylinder. The master cylinder that they offer is a 1 1/8 inch bore, which if you're using stock brakes and you're going to a manual conversion, you don't want an 1 1/8 bore. It's way too big. Your brakes will be soft and spongy and they'll be low. If you got stock brakes, you want to get a smaller bore, diameter bore master cylinder. So 94 and 95 Mustang SVT Cobras came with a 15/16 diameter bore master cylinder that'll bolt right up to the Mustang, and they're relatively inexpensive. Make sure you get it for the SVT. Don't get the GT. The Mustang GT it's a different master cylinder, so it's got to be for the SVT Cobra 94/95. So I ordered that. That's coming. The bracket from Aerospace and the push rod is coming as well. That'll be here early next week. And what else do I got coming? I got a bunch of little stuff that I need. You know, the little odds and ends stuff that adds up during a build. You know, you got your big stuff that you know the price on. Like, you know, I need this. It's $500, $600, $700, $800, whatever it is. And then you got the little shit that you either know about it, but you don't know the extent of it, or you don't think about it until you get to the point in the build where you need it. You know, it's the little shit, and all of a sudden you gotta buy, you know, $20 worth of hardware, bolts here, gaskets here, you know, the shit like that. And that stuff adds up, guys. You gotta think about that stuff when you're trying to price out a build, because man, that little stuff will get you. It'll add up just as much as the big shit that you know and that you're planning on that you need, man. But I got a lot of that little stuff coming. So yeah, I also ordered a new hood, because the factory GT hood just isn't gonna clear that intake setup. So you know, I had to get some kind of cowl hood, and it's probably gonna have to be like at least a 3. So I'm gonna get a 4 just to be safe, 4-inch. And I didn't like the look of some of the 4-inch cowl hoods from like HO Fiber Trends or Cervini's, or you know, them ones. It's so tall at the back by the windshield that it's, you know, it blocks a lot of your view when you're looking out from inside the car. So I found a place called VFN Fiberglass, and they make what they call out of near Chicago, Illinois. They make a hood. It's a 4-inch cowl hood, and in the back, instead of staying full 4-inch height, it does one of these numbers. It starts and goes up the 4-inch, and then when it gets towards the windshield, it slopes back down. It's a super slick looking hood, you know. Slopes down and gives you that clearance back, so you can see. You still got the clearance that you need on the hood, but you know, you can at least see out of the hood or out of the windshield when you're driving the thing. Drive shaft, 2 places in Michigan that build drive shafts for one of them does a lot of NASCAR drive shafts. They're called Dynotech. And then the other one's called Shaft Masters. So if you're in Michigan or in a general area, they build really good shafts. I got an email into both of them to get a price on it's either going to have to be a 3.5-inch chrome moly or steel drive shaft, and also on a 4-inch aluminum drive shaft. I just sent them out, so hopefully I'll hear something back on Monday. And once I hear something back, I'll get it set up, and then we'll have them start making the drive shaft. I'll send them the measurements that I got, and comes time to balance it, I'll take my yoke and my U-joints in there, and then they can balance it right there, and then I can just take it home with me and throw it in. So, and I think, don't quote me on this, but I think that's the last major thing that we need to finish everything up, you know, to take the thing down the track. I still got a ton of, I take that back. There's a few little things. I'm gonna have to rework the boost pipe coming out of the fender into the intake, because you know, obviously it used to be side entry on the Mach 1 intake, and now they're running front entry. I gotta rework that pipe. No big deal. I don't have a TIG welder, so I'll have to take it somewhere. I'll have to make the pipe, mark it, and then take it somewhere to get it welded. But other than that, guys, I think that's really about it, man. We're getting close. Alright guys, I got the intake sat on there just temporarily to get an idea how high she's gonna sit and, you know, what she's gonna look like. So you gotta do little stuff like that to keep the motivation up. And I think she's pretty slick. The fuel lines that I used on the other intake look like they're gonna work just fine for this intake setup and fuel rail setup. I just got them sitting in there, but that one returned from that rail goes to the regulators and back to the tank. That one's gonna work perfect, and this one looks like it's gonna work fine as well. It's the feed one. It's a -10, and the other side's a -8 return. So yeah, I got a few things buttoned up tonight, but it's pretty late, so I'm gonna go in and get changed and cleaned up and get some sleep. So, but just wanted to shoot a little video, give you guys an update, show you that we got the motor in the car, trans in the car, and yeah, everything's going good. Car was a TR3650 car, you know, the 5-speed that came in this car factory. I couldn't get enough angle to install the engine with the transmission bolted to it. And you see I'm working in a little one-car shop with no hoist, so I had to put the transmission in the car, you know, underneath on the ground. And it was a pain in the ass. I hated it. It was the worst part of pulling the motor in and out was the transmission. Well, now the TH400's, you know, a few inches shorter, so I had plenty of clearance to angle it, shoehorn it in there, and have it already, everything already bolted up. Don't have to dick around with the transmission, you know, on a trans jack on the floor trying to get it lined up and, you know, all that bull crap. So that's one of the nice things. You know, that's damn near worth it. You know, the price that I paid to swap this to the 400 just to not have to dick with wrestling the transmission on the ground. You know, that's worth quite a bit to me. So, but yeah, so there she is, guys. Here's a little shot. Like I was saying, the boost pipe that comes out of there used to come out and curve back. They do kind of an S to the side entry intake. you know, the Cobra or the Mach 1 style intake. So now I'm gonna have to make a new pipe from there up to here and do a little 90-degree into the mouth of the beast. So, but I'm gonna cut it off tonight, guys, and we'll get back out here probably tomorrow and try to get some more work done. Like I said, I got quite a bit of parts coming in on Monday and Tuesday that I need to continue. The main thing is this guy over here. I wanted to wait to put the motor in until I got the brake conversion done, but you know, I just couldn't wait anymore. I needed to get the motor set in there so I could start doing other stuff, but you know, there ain't a whole lot of room there to unbolt that master cylinder and take that stock proportioning valve out and stuff. But I'll make do with what we got, and we'll make it work. So, but that stuff's supposed to be here early this coming week, and we'll be able to knock that out and be, you know, one step closer to where we need to be to get this thing on the track. The injectors, I ordered, I think I told you guys, I ordered Bosch 210s. We had 95 pound / 1000 cc Deech Works injectors in it. And on 15 pounds of boost that we ran last year, you know, we were already at 82-ish%, I think was the highest I saw at 15 pounds of boost. And that was running about 50 pounds of base pressure. So I still had some injector left, but as soon as I turned it up to 25 or 30, I'd have been out of injector on E85. So I needed to do something. So I went with the Bosch 210s. They're cheap compared to other injectors. I think I paid $530 shipped for a set of 8 flow matched genuine Bosch 210s. And you know, 210 pounds an hour of fuel. That'll do anything and everything I need on E85, and it'll be enough injector for methanol if I ever take the leap and get a mechanical pump and go methanol. But so yeah, but them injectors I ordered from a guy. They were running a sale, and I went to order them. He's like, well, you know, they're on back order. It's gonna be 10 to 12 business days before I get them in. But you know, I needed them, and he had the best price. So so what I'm getting at is they're shipping out Monday finally. He said he messaged me on Facebook today or yesterday, Friday, and told me that he finally got them in, and they're going out Monday. So I'll have them, and then we can get them mounted up, get the fuel rails bolted down, and you know, have one less thing to do. I still got to do the 4 new injector connectors on this side. The passenger side's already done. We showed you that in the last video, but I gotta repin this side, so no big deal. We'll get that knocked out and get them mounted. So, but all right, guys, I'm gonna go inside, get cleaned up, and get to sleep. So we'll see you on the next one. I appreciate you guys liking and subscribing, comments, all that good stuff. I appreciate it. It keeps me motivated to keep making these videos. I know I don't make very good videos, guys, but I try the best I can. They ain't always that quality, but I do what I can with my skill set as far as videoing and trying to be semi-entertaining. I know I'm not very entertaining, but there's a lot of good info here that you can glean from these videos. So I appreciate you guys watching. We'll catch you on the next one.